As a serious and target-minded nation, would you allow certain people to stand in the way of serious economic reforms, or would you just refuse to leave them to block the progress of the nation? This is the sad story of Senegal, whose parliament have been busy blocking the progress of Senegal, and the pastef regime has just taken a drastic move to salvage the situation. Bassirou Diomaye Faye and no-nonsense Ousmane Sonko have just stamped their authority by closing down the Senegalese National Assembly after a crazy audit report revealed massive discrepancies in the country's public fund management. Let's look at the peculiar findings that made Faye and Sonko take such a bold decision. This is what we call serious people at work, unlike the Gambian government. Let's dive right in. President Bassirou Diomaye Faye and Ousmane Sonko of Senegal have just dissolved the opposition-dominated parliament some days ago, paving the way for a snap legislative election 6 months after he was voted in on an anti-establishment platform. The Benno Bokk Yakaar opposition of the parliament, which was headed by former President Macky Sall, dominates the National Assembly of Senegal with the greater majority. This has made it extremely difficult for the pastef regime to usher in sound economic reforms to get Senegal building again. The Senegalese constitution has given the right to the president to dissolve the National Assembly, which the pastef leaders took advantage of, after which they stated that elections will take place the 17th of November. The new election has to take place within the next 90 days, according to the country's constitution. Analysts say that Faye's political party, pastef, has a high chance of securing a majority, given his popularity and his victory margin in the presidential election. The Benno Bokk Yakaar opposition platform, led by former President Macky Sall, condemned the move. They said Faye had convened a legislative session under false pretenses in order to announce the dissolution and accused him of perjury. Faye, 44, won the vote in April to become Africa's youngest elected leader, less than 2 weeks after he was released from prison. His rise has reflected widespread frustration among Senegal's youth with the country's direction, a common sentiment across Africa, which has the world's youngest population and a number of leaders accused of clinging to power for decades. During the presidential campaign, he promised widespread reforms to improve the living standards of ordinary Senegalese, including fighting corruption, reviewing fishing permits for foreign companies, and securing a bigger share from the country's natural resources for the population. He was elected with 54% of the votes, but 6 months later these pledges have yet to materialize. Faye and Ousmane Sonko, the country's prime minister and a popular opposition figure and pastef's founding father who helped catapult Faye to victory, have blamed the parliament. Their political party, pastef, does not hold a majority in the assembly, which Faye says has blocked him from executing the promised reforms. Now let's quickly look at 5 key factors that forced Ousmane Sonko and Bassirou Diomaye Faye to shut down the National Assembly. One of the primary reasons for the dissolution was Faye and Sonko's intention to push forward with reforms aimed at reducing Senegal's dependency on foreign economic interests, particularly in sectors like energy and fisheries. He had campaigned on promises to renegotiate hydrocarbon contracts and reduce the country's reliance on the CFA franc, a currency inherited from colonial times. These measures, however, faced resistance in the National Assembly, which remained under the control of the opposition coalition Benno Bokk Yakaar, led by the former president. Faye and Sonko cited the need for a systemic transformation in Senegal and expressed frustration over the legislative body's inability to support his reform agenda. His government had been struggling to implement key policies due to the opposition-led parliament blocking critical measures. With the legislative election set for November 17, 2024, Faye's party, pastef, is expected to leverage his popularity to secure a majority in the new parliament. His government aims to streamline the number of ministries, abolish the position of prime minister, and introduce a vice presidency to modernize Senegal's governance structure. The current political landscape, marked by a division between Faye's reformist agenda and the opposition's cautious approach, sets the stage for a highly consequential election. This is a humble request to please like this video and subscribe to the African Pacific YouTube channel, a Gambian-owned channel looking into the happenings of the motherland that are often ignored by mainstream media. Please show your support by liking and subscribing. Thank you so much. The second reason is the Audit Report on Public Finances. An audit revealed serious financial mismanagement with hidden irregularities and financial deterioration. Recent reports from Senegal's Court of Auditors have revealed significant mismanagement in the country's parliament and public institutions. One of the most striking findings relates to the misuse of COVID-19 response funds. An audit of the $1.2 billion, equivalent to 740 billion CFA francs, set up to mitigate the pandemic's impact, highlighted widespread irregularities. These included overbilling and a lack of documentation for expenses. Although the government downplayed the mismanagement, claiming it represented less than 1% of the total fund, civil society groups continue to call for accountability. However, both Ousmane Sonko and Bassirou Diomaye Faye have promised accountability at all levels of government. The report also uncovered broader financial mismanagement within Senegal's public sector. The 2023 national budget saw a significant increase in public revenue forecasts, from $4.8 billion to $5.4 billion, as part of efforts to stimulate growth amid external economic shocks. However, reports suggest that misallocation of funds and weak oversight have hampered the country's ability to efficiently manage these resources. Besides, Senegal is in a serious debt crisis with a debt to GDP of 75% due to Carlos' fiscal mismanagement by former President Macky Sall's regime. This clearly shows that Faye and Sonko can't afford to condone financial mayhem. The third factor is the parliament overstepping their constitutional authority. Senegal's parliament has been accused of overstepping constitutional boundaries and violating presidential authority in several instances, contributing to recent political instability. One notable case occurred in February 2024, when the National Assembly attempted to delay the presidential elections. According to Senegal's constitution, only the Constitutional Council has the authority to decide on election matters, including postponements. However, Parliament, dominated by President Macky Sall's coalition, passed legislation to delay the elections from February to December 2024, which many legal experts argue violates Articles 27 and 103 of the Constitution. These articles limit presidential terms and election timings, prohibiting the extension of a president's tenure beyond what the Constitution allows. The conflict between the executive and legislative branches has intensified, particularly as Parliament has sought to exert influence over the judicial process. This was evident when members of Sall's ruling coalition accused Constitutional Council judges of corruption during the 2024 election preparations. Despite lacking the constitutional power to dismiss or indict judges, the parliamentary inquiries aimed at influencing electoral decisions, such as the exclusion of certain opposition candidates, raised serious questions about the legislature's overreach. This attempt to interfere with the judicial branch and election process demonstrates a breakdown in the balance of powers. The fourth factor is the call for people's sovereignty. As pastef stands for the voice of the people, Sonko and Faye want to make sure people are called to decide whether the National Assembly should reflect the demand for change or continue to obstruct change. The November elections will be crucial in determining whether Faye can secure the legislative power needed to implement his ambitious reforms. If his party wins a majority, Senegal may witness sweeping changes in its economic and political institutions. Conversely, failure to secure this majority could deepen the current political stalemate and hinder Faye's ability to deliver on his electoral promises. The fifth factor is pastef's zero tolerance to political recalcitrance towards economic development. Senegal's new president, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, has adopted a strict zero-tolerance approach towards political actors who hinder national development. Since taking office, he has prioritized political discipline, aiming to curb dissent that could disrupt the country's progress. This stance stems from widespread dissatisfaction with political tensions, particularly following the dissolution of the National Assembly in August 2024. The president's allies argue that this tough approach is necessary to restore order and push forward with urgent economic and social reforms, especially in light of the challenges the country faces. These are the 5 factors that forced the pastef regime to stamp their authority to take charge of the nation's reforms to the next level. After all, they will be equally blamed if the country remains gripped by low economic performance. This is a humble reminder to please like this video and subscribe to the African Pacific YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. In conclusion, as the pastef regime seeks to get rid of all blockages to sound systemic national transformation, it would be nice to see the government of the Gambia take similar steps to deal with this same issue, which is one of the things crippling our beloved Republic of the Gambia, as we have seen the National Assembly running riot with public finances. But this is only for serious people, I guess. This is the end of this video. Thanks for watching and stay safe.